you argue it's evening, but from my end, from what I Googled and researched, it's good afternoon to you. My guest doesn't agree. I guess he's going to agree good evening. We will debate on that one later. But you're welcome to the second half of the show. I like to call it the second half. The first half usually is full for me. So welcome. This is the second topical conversation, but still we'll focus on local government administration, especially in River State. And this time, I'm looking at accountability. How do we hold them accountable? You see, my conversation with my first guest, we heard him say that yes, he wants everything based on the Constitution, but then he wants the governor to ensure that people who are loyal, people who are capable, stable, should be the candidates for the governor's party. And like some of you asked, how will that happen if it is not yet again rebuilding strong men and weakening institutions? Anyways, he's entitled to his opinion. We're not here to castigate, or you know what I say, everybody with his own opinion. But then there's still that question, which then would help us have the second conversation. Remember, local governments would soon start getting allocations directly. There was a report that I saw on The Guardian 2 days ago. Someone from ICPC, I believe, I can't remember now, was talking, and he said 30% of local government chairmen across the country, the 774 local governments, may likely go to prison because they are not even aware of how the government should work in terms of procurement and spending of money and all of that stuff. So joining me to have this conversation on accountability at the local government level, how you and I can hold them accountable, especially as we are drawing closer every day to the October the 5th election, is Barrister Living Jamala. I do feel I've been talking to a lot of barristers recently. I don't know if you agree with me, but Barrister Living Jamala, welcome. Is a lawyer, as the title implies, and also a social-political commentator. You're welcome on the show.
Thank you, Kalada.
And it's good to have you back.
Good evening, Rivers people.
It's good to have you back from your NBA conference. I hope you all had great fun. And
we thank God for the annual rituals, and thank God for bringing us back home safely.
All right then. So you've heard me introduce the show. We're basically looking at accountability at the local government levels. My first question is, with the current situation, especially in River State, where there is the fight, and you can look at fight from whatever perspective, but there is the fight for the position at the local government. I'm talking about chairmanship position. Do you think we're going to have people looking at it from any stance that are going to be accountable to the people? Or do you think we're going to have people that are going to be accountable to godfathers and governors and political strong men?
Kalada, when the decision of the Supreme Court came, somehow reinforcing the autonomy of local government, from my own little understanding, departing from what true federalism, the concept of true federalism is, so many people never thought about the consequences of that decision coming down to the local government level. Just like the state governors, how they control their own resources, their own finances, it has now been leveled down to the aspect of the local government, where local government chairmen are entitled to spend their resources as may be approved by the local government legislative arm. Now, if you look at, we are using the River State as a case study in the circumstance. So if you look at the River State Local Government Law 2018, number 5 of 2018, Part 7, particularly from Section 67 up to Section 78, made provisions for general finance of the various local government. Just like the state operates of its finances, whereas approvals must, before you spend annually, you must have what we call the budget to be approved by the State House of Assembly. Same with the local government as provided for under Part 7 of the law of Local Government Law of River State 2018. Now, in that provision, for a local government chairman, remember the local government operates independently of their various bylaws. So but the general one that regulates them is that of the local government law. So for a local government chairman to make any expenditure, looking at elected local government chairman in this circumstance, not CTC. Now, for that to happen, it must get the approval of the legislative arm of government. And after presenting your budget, should there be any need for another expenditure outside that was approved by the legislative arm, we have what we call the supplementary budget, where even the federal state government also practices in that direction. Once that is done, our chairman in the circumstances will be tied to spending within the approved limit of that particular year.
So, sorry, let me get you right. So are you saying that for them to spend, they have to take permission from councillors or from state legislators?
No, it's not from the state. It is
From
various local government have the legislative arm.
Yes, the
for us to
councillors.
understand, let's take River State for instance. Before Governor Fubara started spending money for 2024, he did presented a budget to the House of Assembly.
Yeah, he did.
Whether in the circumstances it was the proper House of Assembly or not, that is a debate for another day.
Okay.
Which we have holistically debated in this.
We're waiting for the courts, basically.
Now, for every local government chairman, annually, before you make any expenditure, there is a legislative arm headed by the leader, not speaker. Headed by the leader of that arm, and you must present your budget for the year. They will debate and approve. If there is any need for them to somehow tinker with that your presentation, they will do so. But once it is approved, you are bound to act within the limit as provided for in that budget.
And so any other thing is illegal?
Yes, just like the state governor. If you spend outside the approved budgetary provision for that year, it is illegal.
But now we've seen over the years, let's look at the state now. I asked that question intentionally because I was going somewhere. Even the state, when the governor is friends with the lawmakers, we don't hear any noise anywhere. Everybody is dipping, the hand or their hands into the pot, right? We only hear the problem when they are fighting. So let's take that to the local government level. If all of them are working together, nobody would know whether they have spent outside the books or not.
Kalada, whether they are together or not, whether it is a rubber stamp National Assembly, rubber stamp State House of Assembly, or rubber stamp legislative arm of the local government, the budget of a particular year, the chairman, the governor must spend within that provision. And I remember I said, should there be any need for further expenditure, which will somehow go beyond the limit provided by the legislative arm, then it is the governor that will know what to do to present a supplementary bill to the local government legislative arm.
Okay.
So it is a rapport that exists between the legislative arm and the executive that will make the governor, whether the governor spent outside the first limit, the legislative arm has the powers, has the responsibility to approve or to bring a law to the extent that, yes, the governor spent or the chairman spent above the limit, but because of the exigency placed by the governor or the circumstances, then we have given approval of that expenditure. And once that is done, it is no longer illegal in the circumstance. So if I am to spend 5,000 and something emergency came up and I am supposed to have secured the approval of the legislative arm, and I went ahead spending before seeking the approval, it is the powers, it lies within the powers of the legislative arm to give me approval of what I have already spent in the circumstances being legal.
Now, before the monies were going directly to the local government chairman, or before the Supreme Court verdict, we will usually blame the governors for the deficits, for the non-functionality of the local government. Oh, the governors have crippled the local government, we would argue. Now the local governments will get it directly. How can we hold them accountable?
Canada, that question will be so difficult to answer in the extent that we have failed to also hold our governors responsible. We have failed to hold our
They have immunities. President, governors, immunities.
Not to being answerable to the citizens. Immunity as to the extent that while being in government or while acting in that capacity, you're prevented from some legal hurdles. But when called for accountability, like let's take the federal government, we have the Freedom of Information Act, where SERAP has been utilizing, asking for information as to the activities, financial engagement of government. But in the state, various state governments have refused to domesticate that law. So we'll find it difficult to write to Rivers State government as to, you said you are constructing so and so road. Please, can we have the true budgetary provision for that? In the previous administration, we have a governor where upon arriving at a place, the smiles or the reception given to him constitute another approval for a project.
But we've seen similar things happen in this government.
That is the lapses we are talking about, where provisions were not made for in the budget, but at the behest of the governor, that is done. For us to make our local government accountable in the circumstances, the immunity clause no longer in existence, we must first be concerned with the developmental activities of our various local government. Now, the various cities now, for instance, have been doing what they call empowerment. No one knows how much those activities they are carrying on entails. You can't tell me that one of the local government chairman provided 300 million naira for the purposes of providing maybe vehicles for those who need it, keke buses and whatever, issuing machines for those who are in that line of field. We have asked of what is the cost of that particular project. It is laudable, but can we have an idea of how much you use in making these exercise?
Yeah.
So that we must first educate the citizens. That is, it is no longer the time when we blame the federal government. It is no longer the time where we blame the state alone. Can we come down to our root and take possession or active participation of our local government? We are aware that some local government within a space of 2 to 3 months are beginning to receive 2-point-something billion. So there are also activities provided for in the constitution that local government should do for us. Some of the streets in Port Harcourt, some of the streets in my local government, that ordinarily our local government should embark in repairing those roads, they are being left for the state government. And we have an interventions agency that somehow, like the NDDC and some others, that makes these streets motorable for us. But most of them are the activities of the local government. Apart from 1 or 2 local government that somehow created or did a half-kilometer road, 1 kilometer.
Now you've mentioned, do you think the local government chairman over the years have known what they're supposed to do? Or has it been, governor wants me to go there? Or Godfather wants me to go there? Do you really think they have known what they were supposed to do? I mean, I'm looking at it from the time past now. Do you think they have been aware that the local government has XYZ functions as written in the Constitution?
Canada will answer you in the affirmative, but with a little proviso. The affirmative aspect of it, so the fact that most of them are aware of the role of the provisions of the local government and their functions, but they have seen it to be a compensatory activity or a compensatory action taken by whoever that is in charge. You use the word Godfather. Loyalty, to some extent, with this democracy we practice, has somehow removed competence.
Okay, let's pause you. We will go back to answering that question. Commercial.
Nigeria Info. Nigeria Info on
92.3.
Headline News.
Here is the headline news. Youth feared dead after attack linked to oil spill in Elelenwo, River State. RESEC headquarters sees low activity amid ongoing local government election preparations. Okojumbo-led assembly screens confirms chairman members of State Bureau on Public Procurement. On the foreign scene, ICC says Mongolia can arrest Russian president if he visits. Details in the 6 p.m. bulletin. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 008-721-7215. I am Kalada Kurubatubo. To stay tuned.
This is Hard Facts.
All right, it's the bottom of the hour. Yes, we're trying to race against time. So if you are just tuning in, you're welcome. You're listening to Hard Facts on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, active on X, Nigeria Info PH is the handle for all three platforms. I am Kalada Kurubatubo. You can follow me on social media, Canada. So with me in the studio is barrister Living Jamala, and we are looking at how to hold local governments accountable. And just before, the break, you were talking about how it's been difficult to hold governors and even presidents accountable. And my guest was telling me how the local government chairmen are not ignorant of their responsibilities, but instead they have ignored allowing intervention agencies and the state government and even the federal government to take up some of these responsibilities. So now the next question would be, how then do we ensure that they do what they are supposed to do? Because you mentioned something very, very important and vital, that they see the role as a compensatory role.
Their emergence.
So how do we ensure that the right people, and that's the question I tried to ask the last hour, how do we ensure that we select the right people into office, local government offices?
A system that will allow for true participation of the citizens can give us that right to select the right person.
Okay.
But a system that where it is seen to, because of my loyalty, I'm rewarded for for emerging as a chairman of a particular local government, then it will be difficult for citizens to participate. First, where there are two odds, the citizens has the very regrettable options of picking between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Yeah.
And so when internal political parties, when parties allow internal political activities to be regulated by the true democratic process, then we can see the right person emerging first from the political party. But where parties begin or in their natures continue to act as nothing will happen, imposition, then the citizens are left without the choice of picking for the right person if we are to have independent candidature. Kalada, nothing stops you from coming out as a local government.
I don't want to be a politician.
All right.
I don't want to be.
Assuming you're a shadow, nothing stops your shadow from coming out as a local government chairman. And if the masses within your local constituent as a local government approves of your person, believes in your own person and capacity, then they'll go for you. But to the extent that we practice local government administration in Nigeria, it is difficult for us to say we are going to have true participation of the masses. What I see local government elections generally has been that of a mock exercise.
Do you think anything will change now? Now that monies are going directly, so some people would argue these local governments don't have to bow to any godfather.
Yeah.
They just have to go in there. They will be their boss, their own boss, because the monies will come. Do you think that will bring any change, positive change?
During the reign of Muhammadu Buhari, he made an executive order to the extent that monies for the local government should be paid directly.
Okay.
Some local government chairmen in Rivers State came out boldly to say that yes, those monies were paid directly to them. Kalada, did you see anything happen in those local government? Something will happen. Something will change to the extent that the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, the ICPCs, but first it must be activated by a citizen of that particular.
So why is nobody activated? I mean, you're a lawyer.
Yes.
You're aware of it. There's the NBA. Why has nobody activated some interrogation into how local government chairman in the past spent money?
Kalada, you look at the local government as the smallest arm of government, and sometimes, from my own little thinking, I feel that whoever emerges as the local government chairman is somehow related to someone, somehow close, or related to the next person who, in one way or the other, wants to see things right. Assuming I'm to initiate an action or a process for to investigate a particular local government, my local government, Kalada, a call will come from somewhere. That why are you taking that particular step? Are you the only one in the local government? Once we do away with that kind of mentality, where a wife will be bold enough to tell the husband, who is the local government chairman, that why are you paying me so XYZ amount of money? Because I have not done anything to the local government that will warrant you crediting me. But because we have the mentality of yes, it is our turn. The Emilokon's phrase never started with Tinubu. He only localized it. Once it is your turn, everyone within your family, everyone within the community you belong, everyone within the social club that you find yourself, sees that opportunity as the time destined by God to be elevated. And so you find it difficult for Mixer XYZ to take certain actions about your activities. The state is a little bit more broader in the circumstance. The local government is closer, and therefore you see a chairman will know everyone in his own local government. So it's difficult for a friend to take actions against, it's difficult for a brother to take actions against his own brother.
So that's the reason why. So do you think the local government should be scrapped?
I will not say the local government should be scrapped.
Because you just said it's very difficult for us to be accountable.
I will not canvass that the local government be scrapped. Rather, I will say that rather than local governments be at the state level, where activities like elections are heading down to the governors, State House of Assembly, making out laws for. I'm looking at where we can have a situation where once election is being conducted, just like the FCT area councils, INEC will have the responsibilities of creating EFCC, ICPC, and other armed financial crimes institutions. We have the responsibility of also probing the activities, the expenditure of the various local government. Once that is done, because we are trying to hold some of our, we are trying to ask questions about the activities of our governors. Whether they are doing it well or wrong. We can see that for a particular state this is done. Today, Yahaya Bello is running because of an invitation from a particular...
By the FCC.
Yes, by the FCC. So once we begin to get those things straight, and that is the fear. Really, remember, the ICPC is giving a warning to the local government.
Yeah.
They will now answer directly to the people.
But sorry to cut you short. Why do we have to wait for someone to write the corruption agencies before the past local government chairmen are investigated? Why? I mean, corruption is corruption. It's within their purview. So why are they not inviting them like they have invited Yahaya Bello, like they have invited?
Yahaya Bello was invited because someone brought some allegations against him, and upon a discreet investigation, the record proves, one way or the other, unless declared by the court, that something is fishy. Now, for a local government, for someone, let's remove local government chairman, Canada, for leaving Jamala to be invited by the police of a particular crime, someone has to initiate the process.
So are you saying the police cannot on its own initiate an investigative
unless
process?
I am seeing if the police has reasonable doubt, if the EFCC has a reasonable doubt as to my flamboyant lifestyle in the society, then they can kick off a discreet investigation
Some of the
against me.
past local government chairmen are living a flamboyant life. Is that not reasonable enough?
The system that we operate tends to protect those who are minded in the circumstance. And so, when we talk about corruption, no arm of government, no institution of government, it's free or can boldly see that in my own institution, the virus called corruption is not existing. And that is the problem we have in Nigeria.
So I'm sorry. I mean, because I've looked at it from the legal angle, I've looked at it from the political angle, and I'm not seeing much positives. What then can we do? Because you've said we shouldn't scrap it. You've said it's going to be difficult to hold them accountable. But then what really can we do?
Let's take for Rivers State, for example. I've given you part 7, beginning from section 67 down to 78.
Of local government law?
Of the local government law.
2018, yeah?
2018.
Okay.
The provisions there, to a relative extent, they are not strong enough to hold our local government chairmen accountable to the citizens. So we need to tinker with the law to see the best way our local government can act within the confines of the law. We have local citizen chairmen currently operating. What law is binding them as to how they spend them?
Interesting. Good question. Interesting.
No law is binding them. This particular law is made for elected local government executive.
So who do we hold accountable? The past 3 months spending at the local government level. Who do we hold? The governor?
It's not. We are not holding the governor. We are not to hold the governor in the second.
In terms of accountability, who do
it
we?
is still the chairman.
But
on what ground?
They are not known by law.
On what ground?
But we've had this conversation before. They are not known by law.
In this circumstance, the Supreme Court has given their judgment. The federal government has given them a window within which to operate. Somehow, tinkering with that judgment.
Okay.
So you cannot, in all true sense, say they are not known by law.
But the federal government, as a lawyer, you would agree with me, the federal government cannot tinker with a law without due process.
The court is to give the judgment. It is the executive that executes that judgment.
Interesting. All right. Oh my goodness. We do have a commercial coming up, but I'm going to ask for your final thoughts on what we've been trying to talk about.
My final thought is very simple. Let citizens, in one way or the other, look for how to hold their various local government chairmen responsible.
How?
But the local government law of Rivers State, 2018, now that we have full financial autonomy backed by the decision of the Supreme Court, which the National Assembly ordinarily should initiate a process of amending those provisions in the Constitution. Let the various state House of Assembly look back at their various laws governing the local government and worked upon them. The call for Rivers State House of Assembly is for them to look at section 67 to section 78, whether the provision as to general finance is good enough to hold our various local government chairmen accountable to the citizens and to humanity generally.
Something just occurred to me, and I'm going to throw a quick question at you. I think selection is even the first way to getting it right.
Yes.
How do we select? Zoning, merit? If you say merit, how do we? Because you said we need to educate the people. We need to do public education and awareness. So how do we select? Quickly, please.
Selection is a process that has to do with the internal affair of a political party. I'm aware the campaign for zoning in the various local government has been on. But whether you are selecting for or you are zoning, micro-zoning, let the right person be given the free ground to also contest. If that is done, let the masses also forget about the immediate benefit. That is the 2,000 naira, the 5,000 naira they are giving on election day. Look at the better side of tomorrow and cast their votes right.
Right.
Once that is done, when a leader emerges from the free will of the people, the leader will operate for the betterment of those particular persons.
All right, to you listening, I've just got this question. Could it be that we are focusing maybe on the wrong office? If we focused on the councillors who becomes a member of the legislative, arm of that local government, then maybe we would have made the right decision. Because you've said, my guest has said, that the sure way to hold accountable a local government chairman is through the legislative assembly of that local government. Anyways, we don't have time.
Legislative arm.
Yeah, that's what I said. We don't have time. We've got to go. We'll talk about this many more times before the local government election. But thank you very much, Barrister Jamala.
Thank you.